This is Teaching to the Test Pattern.
Hey, buddy, welcome to Teaching to the Test Pattern. I'm Tom White, and this is part 3 of my conversation with Zach Garrett from the Riverside Military Academy in Gainesville, Georgia. And in this episode, we talk about Zach's big wins. We also talk about 3 things that Zach does that people just don't know about. 2 are professional, 1 is personal, and I think they're all pretty cool and a pretty good representation of who Zach is as a person. And as you hear those, you'll go, oh yeah, I can see that, especially if you know Zach. If you are looking to take your program to the next level, make sure you go to Amitrace.com, Amitrace.com. Those guys have the ability to put you light years ahead of where you think you could be. I've seen what they've done with a couple of programs around where I am, and I've gone to visit those programs and see the stuff that they've done firsthand. And you walk in, and there's just this air of awesome. There's an air of professionalism. And, you know, I built my own stuff out, and I've said it time and time again. I really kind of regret it, because when people walk into my classroom, they go, oh yeah, that's where they do the news. It's not, oh wow. If you walk into some of the installs that they've got from around the Southeast, you go, oh wow. So go check that out. Amitrace.com. They've got pictures of a bunch of their installs there. Go to their Facebook page. It's you can look them up. Amitrace, Amitrace. And now let's finish the conversation with Zach Garrett from the Riverside Military Academy in Gainesville, Georgia.
Teaching to the Test Pattern.
So you've been there 4 years. What's your biggest success? What's a story that sticks out that is your biggest win?
You know, the biggest win, I think, has come in the form of multiple wins. It's sort of a collection of wins that have helped me get to the point that I'm at. Because I look back, and you know, I think right now, you know, sometimes we have struggles with getting an episode done on time, and I leave sometimes frustrated. It's like, how, you know, why did they not work together this time? How do they not get this done? But then I look back and I figure out I've come a long way. The program has come a long way. And so I've jotted down a few successes that I've had that kind of have led to where I'm at now. Right now I'm operating the largest E&N team that I've ever had. That we're in season 5. We do seasons each semester just because I think it helps keep it fresh. Mm-hmm. The students can start fresh in January, and they really like that. So we're the largest team, and it's 18 kids. And for us, that's huge. Our average class size is 15 for us. Mm-hmm. And so at 18 is over capacity. I had to get approval for that. I had to get approval to let them in. And so that was a win to have. And what was cool about that is it's not just kids that joined. It's kids that applied. This is the first semester, the first season. That last season, we opened applications, and we had our current leadership team, our producers, man a selection committee. Mm. And so they interviewed. We had 35 applications to be in the program, and we admitted 9 from that 35 after 2 rounds of interviews. And that was just a big win there, seeing my kids run those interviews. And I was there just as a facilitator, making sure things were working, but I'd let them run the show because it's their show, right? These are the kids, these are students you're going to work with. So pick the ones that you think are going to work best. And seeing them take that ownership last semester in preparation for this season, it was huge. I just said, Matt, this is where I need to be right here.
So what did you tell the 24 that didn't make it?
You know, it was interesting. We pulled them all. So we have like these formations, these military movements before each meal. So lunch is the big hot spot, right? You can pull them after that lunchtime formation. And so we pulled him over, and I had the chair of the selection committee, which is my senior producer. He was managing it. And I said, here's what we're going to do. You're going to just call them by name, just split them up into 2 groups, because you have a large group of people you're not going to let in. And then you have a small group of people that you're letting in. So you're going to speak to the people that you're not letting in first, because you're not going to speak to this one group and they all celebrate, right? So speak to them first. And so we did it separately. And I stood right behind him, and I told him, I said, here's kind of what you need to say. And I let him run with it. And I stood right behind him as sort of validity to that whole process. And he told me later, he said it was hard for him to do that. But I said, man, you're 17 years old and you're managing a selection committee. I said, this is real life stuff. Mm-hmm. And we told those kids, we said, look, we appreciated your time. We know it wasn't easy having to go through the 2 rounds of interviews. They had to provide, proof of production work they've done and everything like that. But I said, encourage them to reapply. We have openings every semester. And just tell them that you appreciate their time and hope they continue to want to do great things here on campus. So that was that. And that was an interesting conversation there, but it all worked out because it's all about student growth. It's all about working with them and developing. And, my main goal is if they leave at graduation, being a contributing member to a team, contributing member to society, not just sitting by the wayside complaining about things, like standing up and contributing and doing something productive. That's huge. Yeah. And you know that too.
So what are your other wins?
Yeah. So another win, and these are kind of small ones that really ended up being big ones for us, big impact. We used to send out ENN season 1. We just sent out ENN as a YouTube link to everybody. Here you go. Right. Please watch it. Today we have school assemblies about twice a month where the entire school gets together and all the faculty and staff. And so we show ENN at that assembly. That's our air date.
Awesome.
And it's huge. I mean, the kids and my team, I'll have them sit in the front of the auditorium so they can take notes and do feedback and stuff on their own episode. But to hear their peers behind them cheer and laugh at stuff, you know that feeling. It's sending chills through me right now just talking about it. It's like that feeling of this is worth all the hours that we spent. And so that really ignited a quality control fire under my kids too, because they're not going to put something on stage because Facebook to them, that's our main airing point. And Facebook to them is so distant. It's like my parents use that. Mm-hmm. And so now that really helps. So that was a big win. Another big win was this is my first year with a budget.
That is a big win.
It's my first year. I said, do I have any money to spend? And they said, no. Because they originally, when they brought me on, I came to talk to them in the summer. So the budget year had already been set in stone for this upcoming year. And so when they added the program, there was no budget line for it. So I had to, I call it shaking the change cup, but I had to really do that. I had to raise every dollar I spent. So that was a big win this year. This is year 4, and they said, here's a budget line for you. And I've got a repair cost center and I've got equipment cost center. And I'm like, man, and I've already spent all of it, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Why not?
That whole wait till May thing. No, I think I was over budget in November. I'm just, no, but it's just how it is. It's you've got to get all the equipment in you can. And I had to back buy a lot of stuff, because when we were fundraising, no one wants to buy a lens cap. Yeah. That's not flashy enough, and then the last win for us was STN this year. And I know it kind of sounds weird with it being canceled, but this was our first year going. And that was our Super Bowl. That was what we were planning for. We had mock competitions here. We were getting ready and we had everything set, and we were planning to go on Wednesday like everybody else. But we were told Monday our school president made the decision to cancel our travels, which proved to be fruitful for us in the terms of refunds. Yeah. Because we didn't use that flight and we didn't use the hotel. But what was cool though is the kids were really excited, and it lit a fire under them that I've never seen in my program. And this is so much bigger than us, and that very next day, so Wednesday, obviously it was canceled and they were told about that, and sort of a guilty pleasure. It made them feel a little bit better because they didn't feel like they were missing out on something. They were still upset about it, but at least they weren't seeing it on social media when they were sitting here at school. Yeah. And so on that Thursday, when STN released those prompts, we just used those prompts, and I got permission from the dean. I said, man, we were already going to miss this day anyway. Can you let us just do this competition? And she said, go for it.
That's great.
And so we had all day, and they produced 4 videos in 5 hours. And I've never been more proud of them. So that was kind of the biggest win.
That's good stuff. Yeah. The stories that came out, like we thought it stunk at Skills USA Georgia when it got canceled, but like the teams from Hawaii, talking with some of those guys, like, you're in the air 16 hours. You're not thinking email, text, or any of that. And you can't for a lot of them. So you come back down to ground and you start getting those, hey, it's canceled texts. There were schools who literally never left the airport. They just turned right back around and got on another plane and flew back home. And I'm like, God, that's a lot more time on a plane than I ever want to spend.
Right. Well, on that Sunday, STN was in the balance because they had Sunday is when that team, or Saturday, whenever that team the STN team just arrived to the hotel in DC. And they told us Sunday morning that we're working with health officials to determine the fate of the convention. And so all of the teachers, we were all like on our little Facebook group saying, what's the status? What's going on? And that one teacher from Hawaii, they said, well, y'all better let us know soon because we're here at the airport.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, imagine being there at the airport with all the stuff. And I know that they did the best they could at STN trying to make the best decision they could for everybody. And this is we were just talking about it before. It's a day by day, hour by hour development, and it's hard to plan around that.
Yeah. I have plans for this afternoon. I don't know if I'm going to do them or not, and, I've tried to connect a couple of times to do this show, and it's, and you would think, well, you're supposed to be quarantined. Well, I still got to go get groceries and my mom has to eat. So,
Right.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's interesting times. And, we were talking before in the pre-show, you'll have to pay extra for that if you want to hear that. In the pre-show about just at Skills, it was the same thing. And you feel bad for the decision makers because if they don't cancel it and then someone gets it, but
Right.
when they cancel it and people are still just, so it's a catch-22 all around for really everybody.
I don't have an answer for that.
Thanks, Siri.
Yeah, Siri doesn't have an answer to this.
No one does, Siri. You're
She comes in whenever she wants to. It's kind of crazy.
So you mentioned the Eagle News Network, and you guys are really cranking out some good stuff. So what's next for that? What's your next step now that you're getting a larger crew, you're getting better productions, and you have the media or the venue to play them out? What's next? What's the next thing on the agenda?
Yeah, I try to have a theme every year, and it's sort of started this year with that, just sort of a focus. What are we focusing on? And I know Beekner does a great job of that. I think his was Elevate this year, and I so bad I wanted to steal that because it was so great.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, but ours this year was actually branding, which was huge. This is our first year with a logo. We've been using our athletic logo from season 1 to season 3, and so last semester we got our PR team to design us one that actually showed our name and everything like that. So, and then from that logo, we bought lanyards, pins, sticker, all that stuff. We get all the swag, and the kids love it. And I'm actually wearing one of the things I gave out to them for STN. And so with the branding piece, it wasn't just logos and swag, but it was really, what do you want the brand to look like? And the brand is the show, and you are the show, you're the brand. And so anything that you do represents the brand. Anything you produce represents the brand. So just really kind of getting an idea of you're not just doing your project. You're not just doing your project, that we're all feeding into this brand, this show. And so we have to centralize our messaging. We have to streamline what we're trying to do and make sure it's relevant to our students, make sure it's relevant to our community. And sometimes that's hard because, we're in a subjective environment. And it's not everybody gets a trophy in video production. Sometimes you can work as hard as you want on a segment and it gets cut. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I approve a segment and then my dean cuts it because there's something bigger that they see on that level that I don't see. And that segment might negatively affect something here, or it releases information too soon here. And so just working on getting that brand set. And so next year, our theme, I think the working theme for me at this moment, and it might change at TNI, I don't know, depending on how what conversations I have down there about what people are doing. But I think ownership and automation is my main thing. Mm-hmm. Now that we've got all the tools in place, we've gotten everything, we have the time, we have the people, we're starting to get the resources. It needs to be automated. I need to be, and Meisner says this a lot, Tracy Meisner, he says, I need to be able to be absent and the show go on. Mm-hmm. And that's huge. To be able to say that. And so I know I told you that I've stepped away from that editing timeline significantly since I've started the show. But I'm still very involved in it. And I'm we have to be, right? We're the teachers, but I really want them to bring it to a point to where I'm just here and y'all can do it on your own. And that way the content you produce is relevant. That way you represent the brand well, and you take full ownership of it. And so that's kind of what I'm looking for. And obviously I'm still going to be here to help and mentor people when maybe they take missteps and things like that. But I think that ownership piece and the automation piece is really going to help, because sometimes it feels like, and I've worked with this, every episode is something new with the team, about that. But I told him, I said, listen, managing a new show is like lifting a heavy piece of furniture. I said, it's heavy to lift a heavy piece of furniture, isn't it? They said, yeah, it is. And I said, okay, well, have you ever lifted a piece of furniture with a hand truck? I said, oh yeah. I said, yeah. Do you remember, when you tilt it at just the right angle and it's like lightweight, it's nothing, right? Because you're at the right angle, the wheels, you have it. And I said, that's our show. If you lift it, if you tilt it back just a little bit and get everybody on the right sheet of music, you won't feel it, because it'll just be everyone's churning out stuff and everyone's getting things in. And so that's kind of what's next. Just some other little things. Obviously, we're going to prepare for STN 2021. I think it's going to be in Phoenix next year. So we're hoping to make the trip out there. More community projects. We got hired this year by the Gwinnett County Sheriff's Office to do a recruiting video. Hired by a few restaurants to do some videos for them. And I'll bring my students off campus and have them manage that project. And that money goes back into our program and allows them to buy new cameras. And that's what's so cool about it, that they get to take full ownership and then see the benefits of that. We're looking at a sports only show. Our sports have really, and I know that's a music to your ears over there, but our sports have gotten, so competitive, and so much news happens that our sports team is getting frustrated with having to wait for the next cycle of ENN, because ENN right now, we found our sweet spot is bi-monthly, so twice a month. And that's just because of all the other things they're doing. It's hard to get everybody together. Plus we only meet 4 times a week with 50-minute sessions. And so it's,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it's, and that's the other thing, is that because we're a private school, we're allowed to determine what education time and seat time is. And so we have a chunk of our week that's one of our days in the week that is dedicated to drill, military drill, and that's instruction time. They're learning there. We have a chunk of time that's dedicated to those assemblies and character development. And so we're fighting with that time too.
Wow.
And then outside of school, all of my top producers are also normally top leaders in their units. And so then they have officer meetings with those units. And so we're trying to manage all that. So doing a sports only show as another vehicle for information for our community. So we have ENN, and then we'd probably have Riverside Sports or RMA Sports or something. That might be something.
Here's what I found.
Yeah. Siri's really trying to help me today.
Dude, Siri is all on it. Maybe I should do a show with Siri.
But yeah, I know that's kind of a long answer to your question, but you know how it is with once you get towards the end of the year, and unfortunately the end of the year has accelerated a lot quicker than we thought it would, even though we're still in it, but it feels like it's summer now because with my classroom being empty. But we're always thinking about different ways we can improve our programs and our teams. And I'm grateful for everybody in our community and our Georgia broadcast group and everybody that always shares their ideas. We're constantly looking at other people's shows. My kids are following some of your kids and some of Tracy's kids and Beekner's kids, and just they're sharing ideas. And so that's the coolest part, is to see them work together and share those ideas.
Yeah. I was explaining to my son, who's 13, about when I was a kid, we got I wouldn't interact with any friends. Like, it would just be me, mom, dad, sister. That's it. I could maybe mail a letter, but there wasn't texting. There wasn't, hey, let's hook up on Fortnite and let's play, there was none of that. And it is kind of nice to see some of the kids interacting, some of my kids interacting together as they're planning through the day, because I put the rundown out the night before, and then they start, and it's cool to see them chat back and forth and that kind of stuff. So I always like to kind of do this to close. What are 3 things that people don't know about what you do? Is
it like what I do specifically for Riverside, or just in general?
In general, whatever. So that, if we're ever at a pizza joint, St. Simon's, we know what to talk about.
If I could speak to the teachers for a moment, one of the things I do is and I'll kind of bounce between the school and personal stuff, but one of the things I do for the school is I also manage our digital signage network, which I know a lot of us wear different hats, but I would encourage other teachers to find ways in your school to help out outside of your classroom that will ultimately probably benefit your classroom. That digital signage network is a direct funnel to my student work. I mean, I can send stuff right to those screens now, and they're all over campus. And all I have to do is just make sure the daily schedule is in that rotation.
Very cool.
So that's something that I do here that people sometimes don't realize. Something I do personal. I love traveling. I love just getting out and seeing places. I used to run the international trips for Riverside. We travel somewhere every year. This year I've sort of handed it off because I didn't think I could do STN and also travel internationally with students at the same time. But just getting out and exploring other cultures, and that's part of that language educator in me, because I have taught a few years of Spanish, is that it's a lot more than teaching the language. It's all about teaching another culture. Just imagine a society where people appreciated other cultures before even talking to that person, right? Imagine if there's just an underlying level of appreciation that, hey, you're coming from a different background and I'm okay with that. And I get it. And I see where you're coming from. So I'm not going to lash out at you if you say something I think is off the wall at first. I'm just going to ask more questions.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of that's the coolest thing for me, is to be able to go to a new place. My brother, he's stationed in Germany for the U.S. Army. And I got to see him over the Christmas break, and it was just really cool to go out there and see that community and just learn how other people live. Because just because we live it some way over here doesn't mean they live it the same way over there. Mm-hmm. And it really gives you an appreciation for your home country when you travel.
Excellent. Well, Zach, I appreciate your time. I know that you're trying to balance figuring out what to do with an empty classroom and how to teach while, your guys are hundreds or maybe thousands of miles away. But I appreciate you coming and spending some time with me today.
Absolutely. And Tom, I appreciate you creating all this content for us and giving a resource to us. I know what's cool about your podcast is that you're, I wouldn't consider myself an industry professional, but everything other episode you've done is in interview for the professionals and really kind of giving us a sense of what it's like out there. Cause if any discipline we can get caught up in, it happens in our classroom. And so it's great that you're producing that content for us and allowing us to hear and tap into what's happening out there. So we thank you for that.
Well, the reason that I'm starting to interview teachers I was talking to industry people and they went, well, that's great. I like your show, but what are the teachers doing? And I was like, oh, well, I can flip the script and we can go the other direction too. So there'll be a lot more teacher profiles. Cause I was like, oh, let's, cause I'm the same way. If I didn't do certain things, then I could miss 5-10 years and not know a lot of things exist. And I realized that, that can happen pretty easily. And in this industry, if that happens, you're out of luck. So I appreciate your time and appreciate you listening. And yeah, have a great day.
You too. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, buddy.
Teaching to the test pattern.
There you have it. The finale of my conversation with Zach Garrett from the Riverside Military Academy in Gainesville, Georgia, where he helps the students manage the Eagle News Network. You can find them online. Obviously, Facebook is where they are most prevalent. That's what he said their main distribution point is. And if you're looking for ways to really create some pretty rad videos, I don't know why I'm using rad. Rad, I guess I've been showing my son a lot of older movies. Like we watched Ocean's 11 last night. We watched Son-in-Law with Pauly Shore. So that's where the Hey Buddy came from a couple days ago. The drawn out mid-90s Hey Buddy. But Amitrace, check them out. Amitrace. They're rad. They won't tell you that because they're really humble, but I'll tell you for them. They're really rad. 30 years in the business, family owned. Just amazing. go check them out. AMITRACE.com. Make sure you come back tomorrow where I will have a couple of more interviews with some more people. I don't know who I'm going to get to first, but I'm trying to do interviews as often as I can so that you guys will have some content while you're at home trying to figure out what you're doing. And hopefully it gives you a sense of brotherhood with your teachers and industry professionals from around the country. Have a great day. And as always, go make some awesome.
Teaching to the test pattern.